Well, really what I want to do is have you go through some of that material as it comes out.
Okay. Right.
And,
okay.
And
yeah. Do I look at you or into the camera?
No, me.
Okay.
Today was a shoot that I was excited to finally be doing.
Okay.
Bud had offered to go on camera for the first time with evidence that he believed clearly demonstrated the reality of the alien abduction phenomenon.
Okay, over the years I've been collecting symbols, drawings that I have people make when they say that they remember having seen some kind of notational system, symbols or whatever, inside the craft on some surface or other.
There's a board up there and it looks like somebody's been writing on it.
A board. Does it have symbols, letters, numbers? What does it look like to you?
And I make them draw these for me afterwards. I have kept them absolutely secret. The reason that I've never reproduced these in any source or never presented them publicly until this moment is because it's always been something that I could hold back along with many other details to be able to test the veracity of people who come forward. It's an old police technique. To look at this little book which I put together a number of years ago. Very crucially, this was one of the early sets I got in 1983 from Debbie Jordan, who I wrote about in Intruders. Now she said they were arranged vertically like this. She felt that they were read downward. She didn't know why. She has no idea what they mean. This woman from Canada made this drawing. She felt that this was exactly what she had seen inside a ship, inside a UFO during an abduction. And she has no idea, as none of these people do, what any of this means. Nobody, and that's an item, of course, of credibility in their favor, that they're not trying to interpret it and say this is a star map or this is a whatever. So she said that this was precisely what she saw. And you can see from the way these begin to mass out on a page how similar they are. This is another New York City abductee who separated them out. Another woman who was an artist made this drawing very, very quickly. She drew it on a large scale, but when reduced, they all end up looking extremely similar. Now this over here is Linda's.
I saw the symbols up in the craft. Oh, that was scary.
Why is that scary?
Because that was confirmation for what I'd seen up in the craft. I wasn't the only one that saw these symbols.
And when she drew it for me, after a hypnosis session, she remembered seeing these. She started drawing here and she went down the page trying to remember exactly what they looked like. She said this wasn't exactly right. She finally got down here. When she put this dot in, she thought, yeah, that's the closest of these curves to what the thing actually looked like that she saw.
The big question to me is, what does this signify?
Now, Linda, in this particular case, the only way that she can be attacked, the case can be attacked, is of course if people say she's a liar, a hoaxer, she's hired all these people, every one of these people is an actress or actor that she's hired, she's trained her son, etc., etc. Well, if that's the case, Linda came up with symbols here that are virtually identical to the symbols of many, 30, 40, 50 other people. Now that establishes, as far as I'm concerned, her credibility. This has never, until this moment, been made public.
Right away, that was a claim that made me uneasy. I'd seen him show these symbols to dozens of people. Any one of them might have disseminated the confidential data. I knew that journalists had seen them, television producers, other UFO researchers. And most important, he'd shown the symbols to abductees in his support groups. In the early 1990s, Linda Cortilla's dramatic case was unfolding, and support groups met often at Bud's house. There, abductees shared their experiences with each other, and they made friends who understood them. These were close and very social bonds. Bud had also been quite close to several of the abductees. I have no way to know if knowledge of the symbols had been communicated between people who identified themselves as abductees, The point is that the data, the symbols themselves, were not strictly controlled and kept free of possible collusion.
At this point, since so many people have drawn these things, recently, after Linda's was one of the very early ones, but because so many people have drawn them for me, I have no way of absolutely controlling the fact that one or the other of them might not publish these in a book or an article that they write someplace.
On a popular internet forum, a journalist and one of Bud's abductees discussed the impact that the symbols first had on them. The journalist was staggered by the images at first, then began to fault the methodology. The researcher himself, he suggested, might have influenced the subject by offering subtle cues to people who all wanted very much to please him.
And then Bud told me that they were symbols that several other abductees have drawn, and they were all of one particular symbol that I drew. They were all identical.
Doesn't this seem like an awfully fragile thread upon which to hang a very large claim?
If this were the only thread to hang the UFO evidence upon, of course it would be. It would be quite surprising. But if that's the only thing, but it's only just one more tiny detail that people are including in their accounts, which replicate thousands of other cases in detail after detail after detail, all apart from the eyewitness accounts and the physical evidence. So not everybody sees these things, but those who do always see the same kinds of symbols.
But was that true? Sure, I was amazed to see this collection of symbols for the first time. So alike, drawn by so many different people. It certainly seems to be evidence of alien abduction. But that's only if you don't know how the alleged evidence came into being. Some of the symbols came to Bud in the mail. After our book, Sight Unseen, came out, people also started sending me drawings of symbols they'd seen inside the craft. But most were drawn directly after hypnosis by the abductees whom Bud worked with and knew well.
Calming down, feeling better. They've got what? Just tell me very clearly.
A needle.
A needle? Uh-huh.
Over the years, I'd seen hundreds of symbols from abductees that weren't anything like those in the book. Some were entire alphabets of an alien written language. Some were just, well, kind of tangled up in blue. So why would someone considered ethical and honest make the claims Bud was making?
I have kept them absolutely secret. This has never, until this moment, been made public. So not everybody sees these things, but those who do always see the same kinds of symbols.
Well, no, they don't. Show us what's in the box, please.
See, what I was thinking was to... Well, just talk to me about them as you do it. What
No.
is it that you have?
No, I want to stack the deck here.
Here are symbols drawn by an abductee who worked with Roger Lear. Here are a few of the symbols drawn by Ray Fowler's subject, Becky Andreasen. To my eye, the symbols from people working with different abduction researchers look nothing like the ones in Bud's scrapbook.
Now, it's important to realize that these are tracings of the exact drawing that the person made in the first place. I have Xeroxed each of the preceding ones and brought them to scale so they're the same size, so as we look through this we can see how they all compare.
But why trace people's drawings? Why not put the original sketches on the page and let viewers and other researchers decide if the similarities were significant? Most scientists wouldn't view this as a collection of raw data at all. they'd see it as the creation of an artist who had traced over each original symbol in a possibly unconscious effort to make them seem more alike than they actually were.
If the UFO phenomenon is occurring, as the report suggests, it's the most important event in human history.
Bud had taken on a very difficult task: to explain the abductees' experience to a world that didn't believe them. But was he intentionally making false claims? It gradually dawned on me that Bud was doing research the way he did art. In the abduction reports he selected, and in the symbols he pulled out of the box, Bud was always looking for a pattern. Finding a strong pattern or a similarity between people making abduction reports would give all of them coherence and meaning. It was creating order out of chaos, which is what artists do so beautifully. It's just not quite how researchers go about acquiring information.